Hello, parents and families. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Lisa King, and if you've been attending the parent engagement sessions for Born Learning Academy, I welcome you back. And if this is your first session, hello and welcome. Who am I and what are we doing here? Well, my name is Lisa King, as I said. I'm a school counselor in an elementary school in Marietta, Georgia, where I have been for 24 years practicing elementary school counseling. I've done some outside counseling and written some books and done some trainings. And really, I'm passionate about sharing tips with other fellow educators and parents about how to help kids. So that's what we're doing here. It's going to be a 30-ish minute session. So hang in here with me. At the end, I'll send you a form or the person coordinating this will to find out what stuck with you and what you plan to use in your parenting or in your own life, really, to increase. Today, we're talking about self-talk. So the positive self-talk, that kind of, I used to say like the cassette or the CD, I'm dating myself, that is running in your head without you even thinking about it. I use this acronym, mindset. We talk a lot about growth mindset. And some of these terms of mindfulness, or we talk about the brain a lot, go along with just some of the concepts we're going to talk about today. So first, let's check in. Let's see on the Chihuahua scale what you're feeling today. Let's see, where am I? You know, I'm on vacation right now, end of December here in my world when I'm recording this. And it's always a good time for number 5, kind of a dreary nap, but I'm feeling 4. I'm focused. What Chihuahua are you? Tell the person next to you or just talk to the computer. That's what I get to do. All right. So you're on different levels of the Chihuahua or the emotional roller coaster of the Corona coaster. I refer to that a lot, not only in my own life, but with my students. And really the graph of the Corona coaster, I'm going to show you 2. This one is a graphic of disasters in general. And really this has been, let's just face it, a disastrous year. And when you look on like other disasters, just the kind of how they go, you have the warning, which for us was hearing about Corona in January, maybe of last year, the impact right here of March when everything shut down. And then the emotional highs is right here is when we're like, oh, we're going to work together. This is when we were leaving notes for our postal workers and coming together as a community. And then, right, all of this delusionment of how long it's gone on. And coming up here is the anniversary reactions, right? I actually just bought something like creamer at the store and it had an expiration date of March 2021. You know, it's ridiculously random. But that gave me the thought like, oh my gosh, it's almost been a year. So whenever you're watching that, I'm sure you'll start to hear that more. I have a birthday coming up. I didn't think everyone would have a chance at the COVID birthday, but we are this year. It's just amazing, this Corona coaster. And right now, hopefully we're on the reconstruction. But honestly, folks, I like this Corona coaster model better just for how the feelings are going. Gosh, denial. Some people still are in denial. We got fear, grief and isolation. I always talk to kids, no matter, and my friends, frankly, about just how everyone's on a different level of the Corona coaster. And it can go very sharply up and down or loop-de-loop of overwhelm. And then we have the tentative hope. And we've had a little glimmer of that and it goes on. And we'll probably have some loop-de-loops before we get to what we used to know as normal or what will be the new normal. So it's a process. And in this process, there's a lot of negative things sometimes that are going on. And so this session is not going to be, let me tell you what it's not going to be. In a session about self-talk, I don't want to just tell you, look on the bright side, chin up, make lemonade out of lemons. I'm not going to do that because we have to also admit that it's not always rosy and it's hard. So this session is going to be about just maybe moving this much towards making a practice of recognizing, even if just recognizing your negative thoughts, that's that much further towards trying to change some of your thinking to positive. I recognize that there is almost like when someone is toxically positive, like it's going to be okay. You know, when someone gives you advice that is toxic positivity, sometimes it can even be annoying, and I'm not going to do that to you because this is hard. Life is hard any year, but especially this year, and we're just not programmed to be happy all the time. So it's not about always being positive. It's about trying to recognize when we're being toxically negative or when we're hanging around people that have automatic negative thoughts. So there's two types of people. Well, there's a lot of types of people. First of all, there's optimists. Let's look at these. This is a great cartoon. I'm still an optimist. It just takes more effort lately and imagination. So there's still optimists. There's also the people that are have ants, automatic negative thoughts, right? Do you have a lot of ants? Maybe they're automatic. And that's where we're working to be more of an optimist. Or do you hang around with cave people? Critical about virtually everything. I love a good acronym, and I know some cave people. Work with them, have them in my life, and we just have to focus on what toxicity that brings to us if we're around some cave people or people with constant ants. So let's move on to talk about just, you know, wherever you are in the Corona Coaster is good because that's real and authentic. Brene Brown talks a lot about authenticity, and if you haven't attended to any of her podcasts, or she has a Netflix show or books, Brene Brown is great. She talks about vulnerability, which I think is when we talk and recognize our negative thoughts or we experience the Corona Coaster, we have to be where we are. And that is part of being authentic with ourselves, and also modeling. A lot of this self-talk stuff is modeling that for your kids. When you're grieving, you can grieve. When you had a bad day, it's okay. Embrace that, but also we'll talk about tips to show your kids kind of how to work towards being a little more positive is modeling, flipping that. If you're having a bad day, fine, but reflect on it the next day by showing, you know, that you recognize it, or maybe what you learned from it, or flat out just recognizing it works too. Okay, so the science of positive talk and negative talk is truthfully, our brains are primed to focus on the negative. We talked about the brain a couple sessions ago, and the amygdala, that thinking part of your brain versus your feeling part of your brain. When you have strong negative feelings, your memories attach more strongly to that. So that's why we remember times of fear or sadness from our childhood more. So it's not a fabulous thing that we know that the negative is going to stick to the sticky note of our brain. But science has told us that as much as our hearts are trying to say, brain, look at this good stuff, our brain has stronger neural impulses and memories towards negative news, pictures, memories, talk. And that's why we have to make that effort. We also have talked a lot about effort in these sessions. We have to make the effort to tell our brains, hey, notice the good. Those small moments, the tiny day-to-day experiences. We have a negativity bias. It's a thing. You can look it up. Negativity bias is a thing that your brain rather goes to the negative. So we have to fight it and be mindful of what is actually going on around us, even if it's the smallest things, so that we can bring our brain back to regulation, right? Be aware if you're being toxically negative yourself, if you're around those kind of people, and realize that it is a process. Neuroplasticity, again, a review from past sessions, is this little pathway, right? If you do not practice it, it will weaken. It's a skill. Positive talk is a skill. And looking on the bright side, again, I'm not telling you always do that, but just recognize that we might want to move a little bit towards being more positive, because the science shows positive brains are more well-functioning brains. And also the health benefits of being positive versus negative are strong. And especially for this session, right? Our children are watching. So I'm going to give you a test, right? So this is an awareness test, because about being positive, it's really halfway about recognizing, are you being negative? Are you being positive? Do you even notice? Are you aware? So this is an awareness test. They're going to tell you, but I'll give you just get your people ready. You can even invite some kids in for this. they're going to be passing a ball. You're going to count the number of passes, and we'll talk more about it. Okay.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Go! So you're counting. 2.
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
No, really, there was a moonwalking bear. I love that. Watch the whole picture. There it is. Okay, they use that as an ad for cyclists. It's an awareness test. And let me tell you something. The first time I saw that, I mean, it's been done. It's like a psychological experiment, but it's when you're focused on those passes of the white team passing the ball, that's all you see. And I actually was focused this time to see if I could count correctly, and I did. But if you were focused on counting correctly, which some of you did, even if you got the answer wrong and you were focused on it, you missed the moonwalking bear. So if you were focused, here's the point. You're like, Lisa, why did you just show us this very amazing but somewhat ridiculous video of this experiment? Because what you focus on is what you will see. Think about that. You were focused on the same picture, but when you focus on one thing, and if that thing is negativity, you will not see the whole picture. You will not see the beautiful things in between, the silly moments in between. You will not see the moonwalking bears in your life. You will not see the positivity, because your focus determines your reality. So this session is about attending to your thoughts. But that is a very cool video. I love it. Here's a children's book that you can read with your kids. I read this to my first grade students this year, and I love it. It is about Nana, I think she's called. The grandmother takes her grandson on a bus to go volunteer at a soup kitchen. But he's like, Grandma, why don't we have a car? Why do we have to ride the bus? And she turns it into the positive, well, we wouldn't meet all these awesome people on the bus, and we wouldn't get to hear the music being played. It focuses on the senses, which does help us with awareness, but it also talks about spending time with people you love, and also giving back to the community. And that balance of helping out in the community, noticing, like they go to a neighborhood and he's like, I don't know why this neighborhood is so different, but Grandma notices the beautiful things. So it's just a great story with lots of ways you can go about gratitude and positive thinking, and also giving back to the community. Just a great book. Right, we're talking about being positive, and also the permission to feel, right? The permission to be wherever you are on that Corona coaster. And sometimes it's in the not okay land. We are not, it is okay to not be okay. It is okay for our children to not be okay. So what we want to do is, yeah, it's okay for them to not be okay. It's okay for us to not be okay. But let's talk about tips for just moving a little bit on that little bridge to make that neuropathway a little bit more substantial of understanding how we can stay more positive. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is reframing and modeling that for your kids. When you have negative self-talk, reflecting on it, or even doing an activity with kids. You can do it with real pancakes, or I do it with paper pancakes. And back in the day when I could bring food in, I did bring little pancakes in for my students. But on one side of the paper pancake, I write a frowny, and on the other side, a smiley. And basically give them a negative statement, and they have to flip the pancake. You can put it in a real pan, have them flip that paper, flip that pancake. So negative, I'm terrible at math. Flip it. I just don't understand it yet. Negative, I'm so tired of being inside. I'm so mad that it's cold and rainy. Flip it. We get a chance to make hot chocolate and watch a movie. So it can get tricky to flip it, because sometimes we stay on that negative pancake. For me, actually, and your kids or you can take advantage of this other strategy you might have heard of before, just writing down negative thoughts and shredding them to pieces. You can rip them up. This actually, I happen to see another counselor use this. If you have a kid that's really chronically negative, this is like 12 bucks on Amazon, but it is so satisfying. You put your negative thoughts in here and you shred it. And it's a sensory thing too. So that's something I use with my students as well, a little paper shredder to shred our negative thoughts. Second, we can't deny the science of the benefits of positive thinking. A positive brain literally will work better. You will have more clear thoughts if you can teach your brain and train your brain just to focus on positivity. And it's interesting to note that there's some neuroscience. I love looking at current articles too. And this one was just November this year. The part of your brain that, that is neurally activated with generosity is also the same part about kindness and compassion and gratitude. So we've got, when you are generous, you actually become more gracious. So you can do that activity. My daughter and I, we just did an activity where we just made cards for people that we're going to put in little smile bags with this community service project where we're handing out sandwiches, but you do a sandwich and a smile card. But my daughter just making that card made her in a better mood, and she could actually identify that. What else? A list of positive self-talks or mantras. I can send you an example or worksheet of it. Here's some. Just giving your kids, I know we're teaching old dogs new tricks. Can we do that? Yes, we can. But we can also teach our littles, because some people are like, this is hokey, or I'm not into this. Having something you say to yourself over and over when you're in that dip, giving the kids one sentence to say to yourself: I can try my best. I can control my breath. It's okay to make mistakes. This is one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites. I'll share with you in a moment one of my favorite statements. But if we could all channel our inner Jessica, I'll just let us watch this for a moment. She has nailed the self-talk of positivity here.
Look, I can be a shark. Now my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my moms. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah.
I want you to
I can
channel.
do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone.
Okay, that's some serious cuteness. And although we might not be able to be as positive as Jessica, I love she starts her morning out with that. And I love that she's just, I can do anything good. So this is the one statement I was talking about. I am enough, no matter what you are. And I have a story about this. I had a student this past couple months who we are still face-to-face. I know you guys are remote only right now, I believe, in Kentucky. As of December, I think you guys have been for a bit. We are still planning on going back face-to-face next week. But, we also have to be ready to pivot and be ready for them to shut us down again. This little girl who I have been able to see face-to-face, actually, 5th grade this year, I've dealt with a lot of girls that have had suicidal ideation. And a lot of you guys, a lot of parents might or might not be surprised that elementary schools will say things not only negative, but self-injurious. I want to die. I don't want to be here anymore. And this is very serious. I'm glad to talk about it because we have to attend to it very seriously and call our mental health professionals and help. Even at the slightest statement, sometimes it might be kids asking for attention, but we have to attend to it. And this little girl actually didn't just say, I want to die at a moment of frustration. She wrote on some papers where her teacher was going to grade the papers, saying that she was thinking about, suicide a lot. So as a counselor, we've gotten her hooked up with some mental health care, but knowing that history, walking through 5th grade a couple weeks ago or a couple weeks before break, I was walking through to check on another student, and the teacher called me over and she was having a meltdown. Well, she had gotten a bad grade, and it just, that straw that broke the camel's back. It's, we talked about flipping your lid. This is in a past session, but for those of you who remember, if you get activated, your thinking brain goes out the door, right? Her thinking brain went out the door, and she was just crying. I'm not good at anything. I'm such a failure. And let me tell you, this girl's bright. Her teachers are, if they knew that she was having any sort of depression prior, they were floored that she was having such thoughts. So segue to when I walk into the room, I pull her out, we talk in the hall, we got our 6 feet masked discussion of what was going on. And really, I just had to say to her, you've got to know you are enough. You are 10 and you are dealing with Corona and her gifted program and her grade she just got. You are enough. And I was like, this has got to be your mantra. I want you to say it over and over again. I want you to write it on a piece of paper, put it on your door. And we have to have those mantras for ourselves, and our kids have to recognize right now, especially whatever is going on, you are enough. Your children are enough. This is a pandemic. And this is a tough life at times. So we have to remind our kids that whatever is happening, they are enough. And, to help kids see those little glimmers of hope. I know that keeping a gratitude journal seems hokey to some people, or they're just not willing to do it or want to do it. But there is actually research that says writing down the things or verbalizing intentionally the things you are grateful for helps prime your brain to notice other positive things. So this is something, we do favorite things of the day at dinner time. And I'm not saying we do family dinner every night, because that would be a lie. But we do, when we sit down for family dinner, we try and do favorite things. And I love that tradition. I, just like you, can improve on having a gratitude time in my life, in my family, and with my kids. So note to self and note to you guys. Studies have shown, like I said, that it helps. There are benefits that have been researched on showing gratitude. And it's a choice. There's a part in our brain that, like I said, it primes our activities for the day. If we are in a positive mood, we will notice other positive things. We are on the same bus. We are on the same bus as our neighbors, our coworkers, but we're choosing to look out of different sides sometimes. And so this grumpy guy who's looking at the negative, that might be me some days. And some days I can just take one scoot over. And sometimes I can just turn my head towards the bright side. But we have to, again, recognize what side of the bus you're on, and that it's a choice to look out of the bright side. So what if you just can't, right? What if you just can't look on the bright side that day? This next portion of the session is just being able to feel how you feel and having permission to feel. Even if it's not positive, expressing your emotions brings out lots of benefits too. This book with the title Permission to Feel is very popular right now. And this Yale PhD child study director has really done a lot of work on helping kids regulate their emotions. We'll talk more about that in our next session when we talk about anxiety and self-care. But I love this, if you haven't heard it, name it to tame it. Labeling our feelings, again, is one way to positively benefit, our bodies. Even if it's negative feelings, is labeling it. Name it to tame it. And then if we give it that name, because a lot of times we'll say, for instance, Brene Brown talked to a bunch of soldiers. Brene Brown is a fantastic speaker, world-renowned, amazing person to follow. She talked to these soldiers and said, so how many of you guys are tired? And of course, room full of soldiers, they're working night and day to keep our country safe. They're tired. They're raising their hand. She said, put your hands down and don't raise your hands again, but think about whether you are tired or whether you are lonely. And she had soldiers coming up to her afterwards just saying, you nailed it. When you talked about being lonely, I didn't even realize that's what I'm feeling. And to get granular, to get really nitty gritty about our feelings, when you're angry, what is behind the anger? It could be you're just helpless or frustrated. And again, naming it helps our brain tame it, to identify what I used to say when I was younger, I'm just wrong. I'm just wrong, out of sorts. And when I can get why it is, when you nail it in your head, you're like, oh, that's why, because I think so-and-so is mad at me. I forgot why, but I just felt wrong. When you can nail it, name it, tame it. With your kids, I encourage you to get curious. Get curious about what they're feeling and why. What was funny about their day? Get curious. That's a great way to delve into what's going on with your kids. Ask for a check-in. Check-ins promote a better relationship, and not just like what was good about your day, but like what was something you loved about your day? What was a hilarious thing that happened? What's someone that had a problem today that you saw them solve it? Check in. And here, I'm going to send you guys these slides or pictures of how to check in. Because do it differently. You'll get so many different responses. With your littles, if your day was a weather, what would it be? Was it sunny, stormy? Okay, give them some feeling words and ask them to circle what they feel. I love the feelings thermometer because it could be, dad just took your brother to McDonald's and you didn't get to go. How jealous are you? How mad? What kind of feeling are you having when your sister took your toy? Okay, and the feelings thermometer, the how am I feeling? I love that too, because a lot of times kids will be feeling a 10 that your brother just took your toy or sister. But the problem, what size problem is it? Is it a small problem, but you're having a big feeling? Okay, check in with your kids. It will promote you understanding them and also giving them permission to feel red, to feel out of control, to feel stormy. Make it fun. On a scale of Yoda, what Yoda are you? Are you feeling a 9 of sheep scale today? Or 5? Or just 4? Yeah, for real. Give them options instead of just open-ended questions. And this one I use all the time. How much do you like broccoli? How much do you like art? How much do you like at-home learning? This gives them the option of being, and the best is when you get 100 out of 10, because you will. And, I use a lot of cute kid videos because why not? Who can be more entertaining than cute children? But this little girl nails the Corona coaster. And also the fact that we sometimes can't identify our feelings, or we're feeling like 10 things at once. Let's watch.
Stop crying right now, okay? Are you crying?
No.
Not.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm
You're happy? Oh yeah, you're laughing.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to watch Sophia?
Yeah.
Okay, no more crying, okay?
I think I'm a little bit tired.
I think I'm a little bit tired too. I mean, right? Sometimes your kids don't know what they're feeling, and sometimes we don't either. But we're working on it because we're in it. We're either in it neck deep or knee deep. And it depends on who you ask, and it depends on how we're going through it at that moment, right? So we just need to be aware of our feelings, whether they're negative, whether they're totally valid because we're neck deep in this muck. Just recognize how you feel and make a choice just to look out the other side of the window every once in a while if you're feeling negative, and recognize just the steps that you can take to influence your kids to have some more positive self-talk. I'm going to leave you with this. I love this analogy, and I usually don't read to you, but I will to finish up today. You are holding a cup when someone comes along and bumps into you, making you spill your coffee everywhere. Why did you spill the coffee? Well, someone bumped into you, of course. Wrong answer. You spilled the coffee because there was coffee in your cup. Had there been tea in the cup, you would have spilled tea. Whatever is inside the cup will spill out. Therefore, when life comes along and shakes you, which it will, whatever is inside you will come out, and it's easy to fake it until you get rattled. So we have to ask ourselves, what is in our cup? When life gets tough, what spills over? Is it joy and gratefulness, peace and humility, or anger, bitterness, harsh words, and reactions? You choose. Let's work hard towards filling our cups with forgiveness, kindness, positive self-talk, and of course, the quest for personal growth. Thanks, guys. I know, this is quite a year. I'm really happy for us to be learning together. And I hope you got some good nuggets from today's session. Look forward to next time. And I wish you guys all the best.